I am really excited for this week because I just know I'm gonna find a 5-star read. Like, I just know it. I haven't had one at all this year and we're almost in March, but I've been saving a bunch of books that I think are gonna be 5 stars, partially for like a video like this, but also because I don't know if anyone else is like this. Like, if you know a book's gonna be 5 stars, you kind of want to like hold off. You want to hold off until you've read like, you know, some mid books, and then you want to read like that book that's like 5 stars that's going to get you excited and invigorated to pick up books again. That's kind of what I've done. I haven't really gotten to a book slump at all, or like close to one. I've never been in one, but there'll be times sometimes where it's like you're so close to a book slump, so you need to read something that's really good. And that's usually where I'll save these kinds of books for. Books that like everyone raves about, that I haven't heard anything bad about, that I've heard are people's favorite books of the year. So this week we're gonna be reading all of those types of books, and we're gonna start with Beautiful Broken Love. If this ends up being a 5 star, then we're just gonna keep the good vibes going, and we're gonna see how many 5 stars that I can find in this video. I mean, I don't know if we'll even find one. Like, I don't know. I hope that we will, because like we're almost in March. And I feel like every like few months I need to have like a good 5-star read, like a book that I'm obsessed with, that I want to recommend to everybody. The recent book that I read by Lauren Lacey, The World Around Us, was so good. And it's one of those books that was like very close to give me those feelings where I like can't shut up about it. I think it was a little long, but other than that, I was like literally obsessed with it, and it just like gave me all those happy feels, and I want to feel that again. So we're gonna start with Beautiful Broken Love, and hopefully it's a 5-star read. Found the book that I came in here for, but now I don't know if I actually want it because it just looks like there's not enough dialogue for me. But I saw someone talking about how much they loved it, so I was like, I want to come and look at the words, because you guys know I am just getting into contemporary fiction, like really end of last year, early this year. But the book is The Paper Place. It looks so good. It says, "This house, this place knows all my secrets. It is a perfect August morning when Elle Bishop awakens in the backwoods Cape Cod cabin where her family has spent every summer for generations. But this morning is different. Last night, Elle and her oldest friend had a secret, passionate encounter outside in the dark while their spouses chatted away inside. Now Elle will have to decide between the world she has made with her much-loved husband, Peter, and the life she's always imagined would be hers with her childhood love, Jonas, if a tragic event had not forever changed the course of their lives. Spellbinding and surprising, the Paper Palace unfolds over 24 hours and across 50 years as decades of family legacies, love, lies, secrets, and one unspeakable childhood incident lead Elle to the precipice of a life-changing decision." Does that not sound good? Like, when the person was talking about it, they were explaining it, and it literally sounded like so good, especially because it's set in 24 hours and then you get like the span of like 50 years over time. It was also a Reese's Book Club book pick, so I don't know, the first like 10 pages are just straight like monologue, but then it's like very dialogue heavy. Like, you see all those breaks in there, and that's like most of the book, it looks like, but then there are these big chunks of just like straight monologue. So I don't know how I'll feel about it. Someone let me know if you've read this book and if you enjoyed it, if you think I would enjoy it. You guys know I love a lot of dialogue, but I do love like a messy story. I just live for the drama, I guess, because like really this sounds straight mess, and I feel like I would eat it up. Every time I come into the bookstore and see Blue Sisters, I think about how much I love this book and how I ended up rating it 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I still think about how much I loved it. I don't really think about the book itself or the characters. I don't think I would read it again. It's just I think about how much I loved it. So part of me is like, should I have rated it higher because I loved it so much? I don't know. I feel like I probably rated it pretty fitting, because usually for me a 5-star read is like a book that I would want to read again and again and again. But still, I really did love this one so much. It's so funny how this is the section I gravitate towards first, like the contemporary fiction section, because I never used to read any books in this section, literally ever. I always felt like if you're in this section, it's like you're reading boring books. And I mean, granted, I do think that I've been gravitating towards this section more because I know that the romance books that are releasing haven't released yet. Like most of them are releasing in like May, June, July. So like, I just know that when I go over there, it's gonna be books I've like seen a million times. But it's just like funny because I never wanted to like read books in this section since like college, and now I've just like been re-inspired. And I think a large part of it is because you guys have given so many good recommendations for books that I'm absolutely obsessed with, and I just didn't think that I would love them as much as I do. So thank you. Hats off to you guys, because I don't know, you guys have just made me love this genre again. If you guys don't know, I was an English literature major in college, and I feel like I've said that a million times, but I always want to like preface that because I think that that's a huge part of why I kind of fell out of love with reading contemporary fiction, and I like went into romance instead, because I just read so many books that I didn't like, and it's like you don't have the option to be like, I don't want to read this book, I'm gonna DNF it, or like I'm not gonna pick it up, because you know have to read it for like a paper or whatever. So I feel very grateful that I'm like interested in reading these books again. This is one book that's on my shelf that you guys recommended, and I've been asking for books that have like a mix between like romance but also like other themes too, and this is one you guys recommended, so I want to read this one really soon. This author has, I think, another book. Oh no, yeah, another book right here, and if I enjoy this one I can always pick up another one. I like when an author that I enjoy has another book that is like a similar vibe, or at least I would assume. Maybe it's not, honestly, it could be completely different, but I like when authors have other books I can pick up and it's not just like a one-off, because then I can kind of like have something to come back to. This is one book I think I said recently that I wanted to pick up, and it's in paperback. I actually own it in hardback. Taylor read this one and loved it, and then whenever I said that I was going to read it this month, you guys were all like, oh my god, you have to read that book. I literally threw it across the room. I was like so upset. So I definitely want to pick this up probably within the next like week or so, just because I've heard great things about their writing. Okay, this cover looks really fun, and I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but covers that are like bright and like fun looking, like this like is like yellow, like I don't know, it just pulls me in, versus something like this. Like this to me is giving boring. I don't know why. I need to stop judging books by their covers. Guys, why am I like this? Like I just said I was gonna haul this book, now in the new cover I want it. I literally want it just because it has a really pretty cover. I need to stop doing that. I haven't done that as much, like buying books because of their covers, but sometimes they just get me, and that one's really pretty. Speaking of like books and covers and stuff, I really love this like paperback version of The Paradise Problem versus the hardback. The hardback is like a green color, and I just didn't think that it did it justice. Like I feel like that cover was really ugly, and if it had a better cover I think people would buy it more. Also, speaking of green things, this book is in the wrong place. Like someone must have changed their mind and just like put it here. Just literally look, there's like one copy, and they like came in and they were like, you know what, I don't need to better myself, I need to put that back on the shelf. So they just like left it there. That's just so funny to me. I feel like the books in here, I've seen a lot of them, which is why maybe I've been gravitating more towards the other sections, because a lot of these books like I just have already seen, like I already know which ones I do want to read, and a ton haven't been released. But there are a lot of books with new covers, like this one right here. I actually own this one, and I love Renee Carlino's writing. I've read 2 of her books, and I own this one, haven't read it yet, but this one has a new cover, and now it's making me want to pick it up literally because of the cover. One thing I've also stopped doing is buying books in a series before I read the first one. I've heard great things about the first book in the series, which is Unsteady. Haven't read it yet, but I definitely want to, and I really want to get the second one, mostly because I've also heard great things about the second one, but I'm not going to. I'm going to put it back on the shelf because I want to read the first one just to make sure that I like it. So the bookshelf is happening. It's happening, it's happening. Literally Brady texted me yesterday and was like, hey, like, what do you want the contractors to like make the bookshelf look like in the basement? So it is happening and I'm so excited about it. They're not here right now, which is why I'm obviously filming inside and there's no noise. But we are gonna go and read outside for a little bit. It is such a nice day and this entire week is supposed to be pretty nice, which I'm really excited about. I feel like I've been coming out of, I feel like I am getting my spark back. I'll say that. I was gonna say coming out of like a funk, but it really wasn't that. I think it was just after such a hard year, getting back into feeling how I felt before has been tough. And I think doing that in the cold and in the gloom is like also really hard. But I'm so excited that it's warm today and it's like 61 degrees. Like, I mean, that's summer. We're in summer today, pretty much. Like, we're in summer. I mean, we're not, obviously, like spring's like a few weeks away still, but like, I am so excited that it is warm. I want to give you guys like a quick review before we go outside of the books that I've been reading. So I started the Reformatory and this book is, wow, I'm not super far into it. I'm at the start of chapter 9, which is like page 85. And I knew that the Dozier School for Boys was like a thing, but I just didn't know like very much about it. And now I want to read more books about this. I heard that the Nickelback Boys is supposed to be about this same school, and I think Brady's dad read that book and said that it was really good, so I kind of want to pick it up. This book is just so like, so sad, and I see why it's called a horror and not just in the contemporary fiction section, because like there hasn't even been a ton that's happened, but you can already feel like the depth and the emotion of like the hardships that they went through. And I don't know, it's making me think a lot about how like we haven't really come that far. And the reason for that is because like after I started reading this, I was like, well, let me look up like the time frame, because this doesn't really say like very much about the time frame. Like at the beginning of books, usually it'll be like, you know, whatever time it was, and this says 1950, but like I am obviously not at the end of the book, so I'm like, when did this end? Because my mom was born in 1959, so like that wasn't that far off, you know, like it wasn't that far off. So it's just making me think about how we still have so much like further to go. I was talking to Brady yesterday about how like someone that I know, they were saying that their dad was in Carbondale, Illinois, and he like jumped into an all white like swimming pool, and after like that happened, he like got in trouble and they like drained the pool and they like kicked him out. And he's not even like that old, like he's around like my mom's age, which she's like in her mid 60s. And I was just like, it's wild like how the way that history books are written, it feels like it's written like it was forever ago, and it wasn't. Like 1950, and these the school wasn't even closed until 2011. And if you start to read this book, you will see just how tormented these boys are. And there's like mostly black boys that are in this school, but also there are like poor white boys as well. But you can see that there's a drastic difference in how like the black children are treated. And it's just all of the children being treated like that is just terrible. But like, I think the thing that's sticking out to me the most is like, it is not that long ago, which I knew. Like, I knew that. Like, I went to college and like I've had many like history classes and black history classes and like all the things. Like, I know that, like my brain knows that. But I think when I see like black and white videos or black and white pictures, it's just like, oh, that was so long ago. Like, it just feels long ago, but like it really wasn't. I remember my mom telling me a story a few years back. She said that when she was younger, she was like walking to school, and my mom has 13 brothers and sisters, and they all grew up in the same house, very close, like they're like roughly a year or so apart. They all have the same parents, like they just had a really cool upbringing because there's like so many of them. And then my dad, he also has 6 brothers, so they have a big family. Again, same parents, same household, like very, very close in age, very close in, you know, like just their relationship. And so anyway, my mom was telling me how she was walking to school, and when she was walking to school, one of her brothers started talking to this girl who was white, and like a police car drove past and was like, hey, like move along, like stop talking to this girl. And like they were friends like at school. My mom was saying that they like, you know, would talk about whatever at school. And he was like, oh, I'm just like talking to my friend. It's like my friend. And then he's like, oh, move along. And he was just like so confused. He's like, why do I have to like stop talking to my friend and like go to school? Like, why can't I like stay here and talk? And he didn't say that to the guy, but like he's just like thinking that. And he gets out and like beats my uncle. And I didn't even know this story until like maybe 3-4 years ago. And when she was telling me that, she was like, yeah, like, you know, it happened. He like beat him with this like club. And I was like, wait, hold on. So you're telling me that one of my uncles just like, unbeknownst to me, like had that happen? It's like this super traumatic event. I'm sure it shapes the way that you view just like yourself and authority figures and people around you. And like that happened, and like I didn't even know about it until a few years ago. And it just makes me think about how many others, like, you know, my like the lady I was telling you about whose dad like jumped into the pool, like the all white pool, and they had to drain the pool. She shared that story, but like I didn't know that. And it's like, how many other people have these stories that in my brain feel like they would only happen in like the 1800s, but like are happening in like 1960 or, you know, 1965 or 1955 or whatever. Like I don't know. It just is really blowing my mind, and I definitely want to read more about this school. I also think that one thing that I've found with historical fiction is that there are so many stories that like lead to other stories that lead to other stories. So like this book has now made me want to read the Nickelback Boys, and I feel like every time I read a story by an author, like a historical fiction, I am just even more engrossed. I'm like, I need something else. Like, which is why I read All We Were Promised and immediately picked up this book, because I was like, I need another historical fiction. I do think that when I take a break from them, I almost forget the feelings that I'm getting while I read them, because they're heavy, like they're very heavy, but I think I forget how much I actually enjoy learning. And then like, in my head, I'm like, okay, that's like a heavy book. Like, do I want to read that? And it's a different type of heavy when it's something that like actually happens in real life versus like, you know, characters who hypothetically go through something when it's like fiction. And so I think I forget like how much I learn, how important that is, and how enjoyable it is to like end the book and realize that we've like come far from that time period. But I think I just need to like constantly have a historical fiction on rotation. Like I just need to like not let up, because I feel like when I finish one, if I don't pick up another one, it's gonna take me a while to get another one like picked up and start reading it. I'm also reading Beautiful Broken Love. This is the perfect book to balance this one, because she's a thick, heavy story, and this is light, fluffy, and fun. And I started this yesterday, and I am on page 47. Absolutely eating it up. Loving it so freaking much. It starts out where the main character, you can tell that she's like went through some things, like she is grieving, which you can see on the back of the book. And the thing that I think is like intriguing me is there's a basketball player, which again, this is all in the back of the book. There's a basketball player who she has to like work with, and he's kind of cocky, but not like cocky. You know, it's like I'm cute cocky, but not like mean cocky. Like I do not, you guys know, I do not like a bully romance. I do not like when a guy's mean. I don't think that's cute at all. I'm like, why would I want to read about that? Like if I wanted to read about someone being mean to someone, I would just read about a villain or something. Like I don't fall in love with that person. And this book is like, he's cocky, but he's like funny cocky. And it's just, I'm eating it up. I'm eating it up every single second of it. And I feel like this is gonna be a book that I'm really gonna love. I also feel like just reading these two books alone, it's making me realize that I need to stop holding off on reading the books that I think are going to be 5 stars, because I know myself. I know what I like. I genuinely do. Like I know what I like. It's very rare that I'll like think a book's going to be 5 stars and it ends up being like 2 stars. Like it's just, that would just like never happen. Now, could I think it's going to be 5 stars and end up being 4 stars? Yes. But still, 4 stars is an incredible book. It's a great book, a book I would constantly recommend. Usually the books that I share on like TikTok and Instagram, like Reels or like TikTok videos and stuff, usually like 9 times out of 10, those are only 4-star reads. Like I don't usually share, sometimes I will, but I very rarely share books that are less than 4 stars. So I want to give you guys the recommendations from books that I was obsessed with. Like there's a lot of books that I've read that I didn't rate that highly and I haven't really talked about anywhere, and they're not even like bad. It's just like I very rarely share books that are like, I will share some 3.5s because like they're right there, you know what I mean? But like 3 stars and below, it's like very rare for me to be like, oh my god, you have to read this book. It's enjoyable, but it's like different. But I feel like it's rare that I'm gonna read a book that I think is gonna be 5 stars and it's gonna only end up being like 3 stars. It's just very rare. So like, why do I wait? Why do I wait? Because like, I know these are gonna be good. So I have a whole stack right in front of me of books that I think are gonna be 5 stars, and I just wanna gobble them up this week. So I'm gonna try to finish this one today. That would be a big jump because I literally just started yesterday and I'm not even super far into it. I'm only on page 47, but I think it's possible because I just am really loving it so far. And then a lot of you guys will ask like how I'm able to actually read multiple books at a time, and the thing that helps me the most is genuinely just like picking up one in the morning and then one at night, or vice versa or whatever. Like it helps when it's split up. Like I don't usually read like 30 minutes of one book and then pick up the next one right away. It's usually like one will be in the morning, one will be at night, or one will be in the weekend or something like that. So anyway, I'm gonna go outside, read for a little bit, and soak in the sun. absolutely tearing me up. It is so sad. I did not realize going. Guys, I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess. I did not realize it would be so sad right off the bat. Like, I just have never read a book where like you barely get into it and it's like you're already sobbing, gasping for breath. Like, oh my god, this is wild. I just finished chapter 9 and I'm only on page 10 and I'm already like hiccuping, like just crying. I have not cried from reading a book in so long. Like, I just was like, oh, I'm gonna come out here, like read my book outside, enjoy the weather, get like a nice little cutesy, you know, time on my blanket. And then it's just like, boom, just my heart. There's a quote on page 52 on chapter 10. It says, there are no words to truly define grief. If I had to imagine them, I'd say grief is a beast who likes to stomp, claw, and bite until you're stripped of everything. And then when you finally gain some balance, it returns for another round and the cycle continues until you're nothing but a hollow shell waving a white flag. That's grief, I'm afraid. It's so dang cruel. I am a mess. I am a mess already. And I'm only 53 pages in. Like, how am I gonna make it through this whole book? How am I gonna make it? How am I gonna make it through this book, guys? Oh my god. I have not had a book make me cry in so long. I just am completely floored. Had no idea like that this would come of this book. Like, I don't even know what to say. This book is really good so far, but it is really, really sad, especially like if you are in a relationship or married, or I mean, honestly, if you just love someone. Like, it doesn't even have to be like a partner. It is very, 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 very sad. And obviously from the back, it tells you, it says it's been months since her dreams of forever were brutally shattered, 7 long months since her husband and soulmate Lou died in her arms, leaving her to carry on alone. And it says, and Davina still isn't sure how to move forward. That's what it says on the back. And then it goes into how she like meets Deke, who's the NBA star. I have barely gotten into this book, but the author's doing such a good job of like showing how grief feels like you are trudging through quicksand just like each day. And even though you're going through the motions of every day, like you are just like going through it so slowly because like you feel like you're literally walking through quicksand. And like people around her can like tell that she's like not happy, and she, even though she's like going through the motions and like going to her job and like all this stuff, it still is like you can see by like how people respond to her that they like notice it and they even mention it. And this book is gonna break me. I'm just gonna say this book is gonna break. I also have to say one thing I'm absolutely loving. This is chapter 10, and you can see literally this is the end of the chapter. Like, the chapters are so short, or it'll be like a short one and then a long one. Like, this is chapter 11. Like, literally, that's it. Like, I love books like that. I feel like I get so immersed in the story so much faster. Like, literally this is 2 pages and then the next chapter's over. So like, I feel like I've been breezing through this because the chapters are so short. You just kind of are like, oh, I'll just like do another one. Like, it's only a page, or it's only a page and a half. And it's making me want to literally not put it down. I'm realizing I never showed you guys what I got from Barnes & Noble, so I want to do a little book haul, and I also got some packages. I got one book from Amazon, and then I got one from a Black-owned bookstore in Chicago. I actually ordered this book twice, not on purpose. I think I was looking to find it in like this bookstore and bought it and forgot that I bought it, and then I ended up buying it somewhere else too. So you'll probably see that in another book haul because I think some more books are supposed to be here tomorrow. I saw one of my friends make a TikTok, and she was like, why is it that people are always like, oh, like, you know, I want to get my TBR down, like I want my TBR to be like, you know, done, like I want to be done. And she's like, I don't ever think that my goal in life is to like not have books to read. Like, I love that I like constantly am reading books and falling in love with new genres and new authors and buying books from independent bookstores and celebrating small authors. And I'm also just like building my TBR. Like, I just think that that is just so fun, and it gets like so exciting whenever I get a new book in, especially one that's like in a different genre like this one. So this is from Call and Response Books. Like I said, it's a Black-owned bookstore in Chicago, and I picked up People of Means. If you guys are wanting to support like small bookstores, definitely shop at this one. These books come so fast. Like literally, this specific bookstore is probably one of the fastest like delivered books, and I only had this shipped with like ground shipping, but they also have where you can pay I think $2 more and get it like within 3 days or something like that. Like literally at this point it's like you're faster than Amazon. But I got People of Means, and this one is a book I've heard a lot of people talk about. It says 2 women, 2 pivotal moments, 1 dream of justice and equality. In the fall of 1959, Frida Gilroy arrives on the campus of Fisk University full of hope, carrying a suitcase and the voices of her father telling her she's part of a family legacy of greatness. Soon the ugliness of the Jim Crow South intrudes, and she's thrust into a movement for social change. Frida is reluctant to get involved. Torn between a soon-to-be doctor her parents approve of and an audacious young man willing to risk it all in the name of justice, Frida finds herself caught between 2 worlds, 2 loves, and must decide how much she's willing to sacrifice for the advancement of her people. In 1992, Chicago, literally the year I was born, Frida's daughter Tulip is an ambitious public relations professional on track for an exciting career if workplace politics and racial microaggressions don't get in her way. But with the ruling in the Rodney King trial weighing heavily on her, Tulip feels called to action. When she makes an irreversible professional misstep as she seeks to uplift her community, she must decide, just like her mother had 3 decades earlier, if the cause is worth losing everything she's worked so hard to achieve. Insightful, evocative, and richly imagined with stories of hidden history, People of Means is an emotional tour de force that explores how secrets, betrayals, and the expectations of our families and communities can shape the trajectory of our lives and our place in history. I love when a historical fiction has romance involved. Like, I've been trying to find like contemporary fiction and historical fictions that include romance, because that's usually like, when I find a book like that, usually they're the ones I'm obsessed with, so I'm really excited for this. I'm also loving that it's in 2 different generations. That's because I think that's really cool. The book that I got from Barnes before I open up the Amazon one is one that just came out, and it is by an author I've never read from before, and it's called Losing Sight by Tati Richardson. I'm gonna read the back of it just because I don't know, I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this one. It says, what if a powerful pair of glasses let you see life and love clearly? Sports reporter Tanika, or Nikki Ryan, is at the top of her game until she isn't. Squinting at the teleprompter and flubbing lines, she loses her coveted Thursday Night Football spot to a younger, less qualified woman, and that's only the start of her troubles. After her impaired sight leads to an accident nearly costing her life, Tanika finds herself in the office of a handsome widowed optometrist, Gideon Miles. Their mysterious circumstances lead Tanika to an enchanted pair of glasses, changing her world and Gideon's forever. With help from her boss chick village and a bit of magic, Tanika finally learns to see the love that's right in front of her eyes. In this high heat and hilarious rom-com that harkens to the golden age of Black romance, celebrated novelist Tati Richardson proves life is sweeter after age 40 and gives readers of all ages a reason to believe in second chances. I love reading a romance that is someone who's like older than me, and I know so many of you guys will ask like recommendations for romances where like the characters are like 35 and above or 40 and above, and I think that this is a great one to pick up because I usually recommend The Better Half by what's it called? Better Half by, oh my gosh, I can't think of the author right now, but I usually recommend The Better Half, and I also recommend Before I Let Go by Candy Ryan or This Could Be Us, because I know that like Soledad, she has like multiple kids, but other than that I don't have a ton of recommendations, and I think it's because I've just seen so many authors lean towards like early 20s vibe that I'm loving that this character is like in her 40s. I hadn't seen a lot about this like when I bought it, but then I went on to TikTok, which is one reason I'm obsessed with TikTok. The search is incredible, like no other app. And I went on to TikTok and was searching this book, and so many people are like giggling, kicking their feet. They're like, it's so cute. It reminds me of like, you know, those cutesy Disney movies that we have, but obviously not Disney, like just the vibe, because it has like the magical glasses. So I'm really excited to read this, and I've heard it's a very true rom-com. And then this is the book that I got from Amazon. Really excited for this. This is a new release, again, one I have not heard anyone talk about, and it is called So This Is Love by Mieko May. This author wrote Take a Chance, and it was a little novella, and I loved it, like ate it up, every single second of it. Came out I think 2 years ago, so I haven't read anything from her since, and she just released this. It says 1 time is chance, 2 times is coincidence, 3 times is ... Layla Eden is focused on her career, on her friends, and on herself, everything except the man she somehow keeps crossing paths with. She isn't interested in anything with him, or so she tells herself, but even with her best efforts, she can't deny the magnetic pull that keeps bringing them back together. Bryce, or Sonny Taylor, is at the height of his music career. By the numbers, he has everything he's ever dreamed of, but dreams don't always align with reality. When faced with the reality that the dream he's been chasing doesn't look like he thought it would, Sonny decides to take a step back to set himself on a new course. That decision ultimately leads him in a new direction, one that shows he isn't done yet, not with music, and certainly not with her. I feel like I'm gonna add this to like my TBR. Like maybe not this month, but like the next month after. I've been trying to like read a wide variety of books, like popular books, and then like small authors, and this author is like a pretty small author. And I also have been trying to like mix up genres and stuff too, but these are the 3 books that I got. I also have what's it called? I have some books I want to drop off that I shared in the last video that I wanted to unhaul. I'm going to unhaul them to a women's shelter and to a free library, so I'll probably do that maybe tomorrow or the day after. I also want to go to this bookstore. It's a independent bookstore. It's like 45 minutes from my house, so it is not a super long drive, but long enough. But like, we don't have an independent bookstore in my town that has new books, but I like to go there, and I like to go to support. So we're gonna go there probably tomorrow, and I'll give you guys a little bit update a little bit later of like where I am with the books. I do want to pick out another book because I'm almost done with one of the books. So I want to pick out what I'm going to read next. I think this is the book I'm going to start next after the Reformatory. I have had this on my TBR for so long, and I genuinely cannot go into a new month having not read this for the millionth time. Like, I put it on my TBR all the time. So we are gonna read this one after I finish the Reformatory because I'm almost done with it. I also have 2 packages that are not book related, but I want to show them to you guys because I feel like someone else might want to grab one of these things for themselves. I'm gonna open the small package first, but I have been just like trying to pick up hair products because I'm gonna take my braids out, I think next week. And I'm actually really excited to like have my curls back, which I think just shows that I'm in such a better place mentally. I got braids in like May of last year, and I pretty much had them in like on rotation all year. So it's like almost been a full year, but that was also, or no, I got them in April. So it's almost been literally a full year. But that was like right around the time that Bane passed. He passed in May, and we got his like they told us in April that he only had like barely any time left. Like it was like end of April. And so it was very, very sad, but we knew that the cancer was gonna take him by that point. I was just like, I cannot handle another thing, because it was like 6 months after my dad passed, and I just was like, I'm losing everything. And so I think having braids has been really helpful for me. But I am ready to get the curls back, and again, it just shows I'm in a much better place like mentally. I actually just posted a podcast episode on my podcast. It's either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, like wherever you can find podcasts, and it's all about how to get your spark back. And I talk about how I was able to get my spark back after like really hard things. Like when you go through hard things and then you're like by yourself, like my mom moved and stuff, it is kind of hard to be like, how am I supposed to pick the pieces of my life back up? And again, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone. I know that there are people who have lost their parents, who have lost dogs that they got when they were in college and like very formative years and had them for, you know, 10 years. Like I know that I'm not the first person that has had their parent move away, but I think having it happen all at one time, I didn't get enough time to really like fully work through all my emotions with that. So braids have been very helpful, but I'm ready to take them out. So I picked up this leave-in conditioner from Alakay Naturals. It's one of my favorite places to get leave-in conditioner. It smells so good. It literally smells like lemon. It's like very clean. And then they also sent this deep conditioner right here. And then I also picked up another package, which it's like a bigger one because I have even more hair things that I needed. Like if you are someone who has natural hair, like you know how many hair products it takes to really get your hair how you want it. And I haven't really used a ton of hair products over the last year because I've had my hair in braids for the most part. So I picked up some tried and true things that I knew that I would need and things that I haven't had for a while. And let's see if they're all in here. Yes, okay, so I picked up these little, what are they called? They're just literally on the tip of my tongue. Flexi rods. Literally, I was like, I know someone is screaming at me right now. I picked up flexi rods. I used to have like some like rainbow colored ones, but I haven't really used them since college. And then when we moved, I don't know what happened to them. So I just bought some new ones, and these are pink, so I thought it'd be cute. I'm trying to find like hair things that make me happy, like that are just like look cutesy. Like I got this Denman brush, and guys, look at this brush. Is this not the cutest Denman brush you've ever seen in your entire life? Look at that. Is that not so cute? Like this little pattern is so unique. It has like flowers and stuff on it. And I just feel like this is gonna make me want to pick it up and like use it. So I got that, and then I also got this spray bottle, which believe it or not, like I really don't have these like basic things because I just over the last year have not done my hair really. Like I haven't, like I've just kind of gotten braids, and then whenever I get it out, I put them pretty much right back in. So a lot of the products that I had or things that I had, I don't know where the heck they are. So I got this water bottle, obviously just to like spray my hair. And yeah, I'm really excited for the curls to come back. I think another thing that's also gotten me excited about like wearing my natural hair again is following people or just like looking at content online of people who share their natural hair. I think that is huge. Anytime that I'm trying to enjoy more of something, if I see someone doing it, it makes me excited to do that thing. So another thing for me with like booktubers or like booktoppers or bookstagrammers, I really try to kind of filter a lot of the people that I watch to be people that read diversely, because I found that when I wasn't watching videos or content of people who read diversely, I wasn't excited to pick up diverse reads because like they're not talking about them. So I think if you're someone who wants to get into anything, whether it's a hobby or you want to do more of something, whether that's like working out or eating healthier or whatever, try to like consume content, whether that's books or podcasts or movies, or just be around people who also do that thing. It'll really encourage you to like do that, which is why I think it's so great to be in community with people who love things that you love, because you'll be more inspired to do the thing because they're also doing it. So anyway, had to show you guys that little haul. And now that I picked up my book, I'm gonna try to finish the Reformatory. Tomorrow we're gonna go to the bookstore that is in Jacksonville, Illinois. I haven't been there in quite some time, but once we go there, hopefully they have some really good books. That sunset is so pretty, and coloring out there and reading out there just made me realize how much I am ready for summer. Like, I'm so ready. I just feel so much happier when it's warm. I want to show you guys my book haul, everything that I ended up getting from the bookstore. I got a lot of books that I didn't really expect to get. Not me honking my horn by accident. But I got a lot of stuff I didn't expect to get. And I still have an Amazon book haul to show you guys tomorrow, but I don't go to that bookstore as often as like Barnes & Noble in my town, because it's like 40 or so minutes away. And their hours are only 10 to 2 right now. And like, obviously I'm working during those hours. But today they're open until 4. So I just like scooted over there a little bit early, and I was able to like catch them, which it was really nice. So I think their summer hours, they're going to go till 5. But like, since it's been their winter hours, it's just been impossible for me to get there between 10 and 2. But I ended up getting 5 books. Guys, I just got so many books. I got so many books. I'm trying to decide if I should show you guys at home, because the sun is like literally right in my face, so it's kind of like hard to see. But I think I'm gonna just show you guys now, because I feel like by the time I get back to my house, the sun is gonna be set. So hopefully you guys can see me just fine. So I ended up getting a bunch of books that were like super random. And that's the thing I love about indie bookstores, is I'm always gonna find books that I don't find in Barnes. So the first book that I ended up getting is In the Long Run by Haley Cass. This is a book that has very high reviews on Goodreads, but there aren't very many of them. And on the back it says, free-spirited and easygoing, Taylor left her hometown in Tennessee as soon as she could, and in the 25 years since, she has rarely looked back. She wouldn't change anything about how her life has turned out, having traveled to nearly every country, never staying anywhere long enough to feel stifled. Very few things can hold her attention back in Tennessee. Her sister and slash best friend, her precocious niece, and perhaps the prospect of riling up Brooke Watson. Brooke has known Taylor for his entire life, given that her best friend is Taylor's younger brother, and a lifelong knowledge of Taylor means that Brooke knows she's trouble. Irresponsible, takes nothing seriously, and is irritatingly attractive. Unlike Taylor, Brooke loves their town so much that she spent her adult life dedicated to making sure it doesn't get swept away like many of the other declining small cities of the American South. Faircombe, the town in Tennessee, means the world to her, and she's willing to do just about anything to make sure it flourishes, even if it means working with Taylor, whose path seems to continuously be crossing with Brooks's everywhere she turns. And this is supposed to be like a slow burn, have a lot of tension. I was looking at like some of the reviews on Goodreads, so I'm really excited for this one, because that's like my favorite thing. This book right here was, I think I was book drunk. Like, I was just like excited to be in a bookstore. I was picking up books. This is one of those books where I left and I was like, why did I get this book? And the book is called Sin Wagon. It's an age gap romance. It's by Cassie Lane. This is supposed to be super spicy, like super spicy. I was like flipping through this book after I like bought it. Guys, look at this. I can't even show you the picture. This is a picture. Oh, not me showing you the picture. This is the picture of the couple. But if I show you the full picture, it's literally her naked on top of him. And he is inside of her. And she's pregnant. Like, I did not know that when I bought this book. So this book is spicy. Like, spicy, spicy, spicy. And I did not realize it was as spicy as it was. Like, I didn't really flip through it until I got out to the car, but I know that I enjoy pregnancy tropes, at least from like what I've read. I've only read like 2 pregnancy trope books, but so many people hate it, and I'm like, what is it that they hate it? But I think part of what people have said that they hate is they hate when it's like just random people who hook up and then they feel like they have to get together or get married or whatever because they have a kid. I haven't really read any pregnancy trope books like that. All the books I've read, they're kind of already like interested in each other and they want to be together. So this is a book where it's like one night stand, she gets pregnant, and then like they do the whole like, you know, going to check the ultrasound, like all that stuff together, and they're not together. I think she's like a stripper or something. Like, let me see. She's an exotic dancer. So yeah, I just thought that would be interesting to see my perspective on the pregnancy trope, because I still don't see why people don't like it. And I'm like, maybe I just need to see like a different type of like pregnancy trope book. So that's why I got this, not knowing it would literally be like this picture. It's like, I can't show you this picture, guys. I can't show you. I cannot show you. I cannot show you. Like, this picture is literally showing this man's balls. Like, granted, it's a cartoon, but still, it's like, oh, this is so spicy. So, yeah, we'll see if I get to that one or if that goes into a free library. I don't know. Like, I always like trying different types of books and different types of authors because I never want to box myself in. But if I know I'm going to not like something, a lot of the time I'll just be like, I'm not going to read it. But like with this, the pregnancy trope, I like that trope. So it is possible I could like this book because it has the pregnancy trope, and I really did enjoy that. I think what I like most is like seeing like them take care of each other, and I just think that that's like really cute. And yeah, I don't know, so we'll see. I also picked up this book. This is by a Black author. It's India Carter. This author actually writes a very popular series that's like all over Book Talk, and I haven't read it yet, but I've like wanted to. And this one's called Need You by Me, and this is not in that series, but I was like looking on the shelves, I was like, this author looks super familiar. Why does this author look so familiar? And then I looked it up, I was like, oh my god, like I have been wanting to get, I think the first book is like Tempted something. I've been wanting to get this book, and I'm so glad that I found this one, because even though I didn't get the other series or the other book that I like wanted, I can at least try this author's writing. On the back it says, Need You by Me, courtesy of my controlling father, Marshall and I have been living together for the last couple of years. Because of his profession, we'd managed to stay out of each other's way. His age and respect for my father is what kept him from giving in to my flirtatious advances. Over the years, we've managed to not cross that line until that one slightly drunken night. And this one is, I think, like fairly spicy, but I think it's like a pretty good plot too, which you guys know. I don't mind spice, but it has to have a good plot. Like it cannot be just like straight spice, no plot. Like I get like really bored when I'm just like pages and pages and pages. It's like, okay, come on, like where are we going with this? I mean, obviously to the bedroom. So yeah, I got that. And then I also got The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead, because I have been reading The Reformatory. I'm almost done with it. I'm like right at the very end. And I'm loving it, but I think the only thing that I'm not like obsessed with is it has a lot of talk of like ghosts, and I know it's like a horror, but I think I expected the horror to be like the things they're going through, which that is horrific. Like you're reading that in the book as well, but it has like a lot of talk of like, you know, the children who died before, and I expected that too because I kind of knew going in it would have it, but I think in my head I thought that those pieces would be telling you the history of the things that the kids went through that like they're not able to tell anymore because they're gone. So like I thought it would add to the story in that way, but it's different. So like I'm still enjoying it, but I think I want to read the story of the School for Boys from a different perspective. And this one is by Colson Whitehead. And this is also a very highly acclaimed book. It says, based on the real story of a reform school that operated for 111 years and warped the lives of thousands of children. The Nickel Boys is a devastating, driven narrative that showcases a great American novelist writing at the height of his powers. So I just thought that this would be good. And it's told in 1960, 1970, I'm pretty sure. And then the last book that I got, and again, I still have 3 more books that I have to show you guys, but I'm going to show you guys tomorrow because like the sun is literally setting. But I ended up getting First Time Caller by B.K. Borson. I've read one book by this author. It was like a Christmassy romance, and I wasn't obsessed with it. I literally rated it 2 stars. And I think it's because Friends to Lovers is my favorite, like absolute favorite trope if I had to only pick one. And my biggest gripe is when I see a Friends to Lovers story and the characters already feel like they're together and they're not. I cannot stand that. Like, and in that book, it was like a Christmassy something, Love Light Farm, that's what it was called. I think that's this same author. The characters at one point, they're like friends, but like she's laying in his lap and they're like cuddling together at night. And I'm like, I mean, people do that, but like, do they really if they don't have feelings for each other? So to me, it was like kind of obvious. It's like you guys have feelings for each other, just like talk about it. Whereas a real Friends to Lovers to me, and maybe because like my husband and I were that, it's like we played each other's wingman, and we were like, you know, just like true like best friends. So I think that for me is something that I just am like, it literally grinds my gears. So I don't think it was the writing at all. It was more of just like the storyline. So I can see myself definitely enjoying this book right here. I just want to give this author a fair try. And this says, a hopeless romantic meets a demoralized radio host in this cozy, sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. And I've heard great things about this book, and it just came out. And I know it's supposed to be a series because I think on Amazon it says like book 1, or Goodreads or something, it says like book 1. So excited for this one. I do think this is I do think that this is a little long. I think this is like 300 or 440 pages. Not terribly long, but like for a romance, it's like, come on. Do you really need more than 380 pages? Like, do you really need that many? So, I mean, we'll see, but I'm really excited. I got such a plethora of books here. We have some romance, we have some spicy romance, we have some diverse reads. I have a book that is telling the story of like a true event, and it's told in a different perspective from the book that I'm reading now. So again, very excited for all of these, and I'm gonna head home, finish reading. I loved coloring today, and I'm gonna finish reading, and I'll give you guys like a little update tomorrow when I open up my packages in. I need someone to please tell me, like, what the heck kind of book is this? I started this book and I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I think I'm flabbergasted because this is so many people's favorite book, and I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I genuinely don't know. I am on chapter 9, and that's page 155. So I'm like getting through it, but I don't know how I feel because, okay, so this book, it starts out where this girl, she like sees this guy, she's like, oh my God, he's cute, like I'm kind of into him, and then her best friend also sees him, and he sees her best friend, and they like they start to date. So she's like, okay, obviously he's off limits because he's dating my best friend. And then that was in high school. They get to college, and then she starts dating this guy, and then he ends up being single. And again, it's like paths aren't crossing here. The thing that I knew that the cheating trope was in this book. Like I already knew that going into it. I feel like it's very public knowledge that like that is part of this book. And I don't even know how I knew. I think just like hearing over the years how good it is and stuff, I just knew it was gonna be in this book. So I knew going into it that it would be a book with that trope. But I've read books with the cheating trope, and I think I draw the line at reading the cheating trope when it's like you're cheating on good people, like in, you know, books where the main character is like in an abusive relationship and the guy's like verbally or physically abusing her, or the partner is sleeping with other people. Like to me, it's like, okay, that's a bad person. Not that there's any reason to ever cheat on anyone. Like literally there never is. Like just break up with them. To me, it's like stupid. But if you're gonna add that trope in a book, I feel like I can read it and digest it in a way that doesn't like make me sick to my stomach if the characters are like just like not meant for each other. You know, they're not like meant for each other, and one of the characters is like bad. Like they're just like not a good person. Because, you know, and like if you're in an abusive relationship, like maybe you can't get out of it because you're like, you know, trapped, whatever. Like that to me is like, okay, understandable. This book, and again, I say understandable, but it's like really not. Like you guys get what I'm saying. Like there's no reason to ever cheat, but if you're going to add it in a book, I think I can stomach it if it's something like that. Like if someone's beating your brains out, like, and abusing you, and you like go and cheat on someone and you like feel like you can't get out of your relationship, to me, I'm like, okay, I can stomach that. I'm not gonna like literally throw up as I'm reading it. This book, I feel like I'm going to puke. I feel like I'm gonna puke because the people they're dating are like good people. And they'll like do something and then 2 seconds later be with like their partner. And I'm like, yo, your lips probably still have like their spit sitting on the top of your lip, and then you go to kiss somebody else and like, oh, it's literally making me sick. It's making me sick. And also it's like, there's so much miscommunication in this, which I also knew that going into this. So they're irritating because it's like, just talk to each other. Like, and I feel like that's gonna be the whole book. So I don't dislike it, but I think if she breaks up with her boyfriend in college and then like something else happens after college and like they're both in other relationships, like I think that to me is gonna be like, okay, come on, let's get real. So we'll see as I get into it more, but this is definitely one of those that is very taboo. But also it's like, if you like books where it kind of has like the soulmates trope where it's like, you know they're meant to be, they keep gravitating back towards each other. It's like they're like magnets. I feel like you like this because this definitely has that feel. It's not like they're just random people. Like, they seem like they're meant for each other. They seem like they can almost read each other's mind in a way because they know each other so well. Like, there's a point where like they were in a room together, like separately, and he's like, what's wrong? She's like, nothing. And he's like, I know you better than that, or something like that. He's like, I know you better than that. Like, I know something's like wrong. And it's like, he knows her and she knows him. So like, that to me is good, but I don't know. And I also will be interested to see his POV because you don't get his POV until the end. And I think that this is only giving his POV at the end because it's like a special edition, but like the original copy I think only had her POV, which is also irritating because she's like assuming, and I do sometimes like when a book only has one POV because it's more like true to real life. Like, if you're hooking up with somebody and you're in a relationship and you know you shouldn't be doing that, you probably don't know like their inner thoughts. Like, you probably don't know what they're thinking. And so as a reader, I don't know what like he's thinking half the time. And so it makes me have that same unease that she is also feeling whenever they like connect. And like in high school, when he's like dating literally her best friend and they go to like a game together, I think it's like a football game or something, like they're sitting next to each other and she like has her knee leaned against his knee, and it's like, girl, you know what you're doing. Like, you know what you're doing. Like, yeah, I get it, that's your best friend, and like, you know, you care about her and you really like this guy, so like you don't know what to do. But it's like, girl, you're leaning your knee against him and then you're like letting him like rub your arm and stuff while he's sitting next to you, and like he's giving you these piercing gazes where he like can't stop looking at you. Sick to my stomach. Like, you're sick. You're sick. You're disgusting. Like, you're sick. Like, I don't know. I feel like this book is literally just making my stomach flip-flop, and it'll be interesting to see how this book goes. I do see why this book is so popular in Book Talk, because I can imagine this as a movie. Like, right now they're at a party and they're in college and her best friend shows up, and her best friend is like, oh, like, he's here? Like, I didn't realize like he goes to your school. And so she kind of starts flirting with him, and she's like, oh, I remember you dumped me. He's like, oh, I remember it the other way around. Like, I remember like you were the one. And so like they're kind of flirting, and she's in a relationship. So like, girl, you can't get mad, but like she's getting like irritated, and she's like, you know, getting drunk. And you guys know I love a club scene, but it's more like, not even just a club scene. I love a scene where characters are like at a party or something and they just completely let themselves go, where they're like, they don't even have to be drinking. It's just like, I feel like when music's going, the lights are dark, like you feel comfortable to say things, almost like if you were at a sleepover, like with a best friend or something, you feel comfortable to say things in the dark that you might not say in the light. And that's why I love a party scene. So I'm at this like bonfire scene, and he's drunk. She wants to get drunk. She's literally like, I need a drink. Like, I know. She goes, I realized quickly what kind of night it would be, so I drained 3 long shots from my flask and gritted against the sting. I needed an escape. I needed a break from my thoughts. So I feel like it's gonna get wild because her best friend's drunk. Her best friend came up to her school to surprise her. He's drunk. She's drunk. So like, it is one of those books that like, you don't want to put down. Like, I definitely feel like, even though it's thick, it's one I'm gonna probably finish really fast. I feel like I'm definitely gonna finish it today because it's just very, very fast paced. So anyway, I will keep you guys posted, but I am highly irritated, but also loving it at the same time. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what I would rate this. Like, granted, I'm only 155 pages in, but like, usually I have a gauge. It's like, oh, this is gonna be like, this is gonna be the rating. I have no idea. I have no idea where this is gonna fall in the rating. This book is absolutely infuriating. Like, I want to throw this book across the room. Like, I just am so irritated. I can't stop reading. Like, I just got to chapter 16 and I have a hard time. Okay, I'm gonna read a section to you, and it's not a spoiler, I feel, because it has like, it's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler, okay? It's not a spoiler, but I have such a hard time talking about the books I'm reading because so many people are like, don't leave spoilers, like, which I don't, like, I try not to, but like, sometimes something to someone is a spoiler and to someone else it's not. So like, a lot of the time when I'm reading books, I just will kind of be like, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I rate it, and kind of leave it at that. And like, I almost feel like I can't talk about the books because really anything inside of this book, anything on these pages could be a spoiler to someone, you know? It's like, I don't know what your like version of a spoiler is. Like, me telling you that the cheating trope in this book to me is like common knowledge, but it might to someone else be a spoiler. So like, I never want to spoil a book, but also it's like, this is an hour and a half long probably at this point reading blog, and so like, I do want to share like what is making me want to throw this book. And I think what's making me want to throw this book, again, not a spoiler, they argue so freaking much. They argue so much, and I'm in a relationship that like, we don't really argue. Like, if we disagree, it's one of those things where like, we've been together for 13 years, so like, if we disagree on something, we both zip our lips, we like let ourselves chill out, and then we kind of come back and we're like, all right, how do we want to like do this? Like, we just kind of talk through things. Whereas they're like, he goes, you're the most selfish woman I've ever met. Let me guess, you miss me and you thought that I'd just be here waiting for you. And he like goes on, and he's like, you wanted me to let you go so badly, and this time I listened. So no, you don't get to show up here and tell me you miss me. You don't get to, and it has like a dash, meaning like, he's like continuing to talk. And she goes, stop! Says I choke, pushing myself off the wall and walking as quickly as my heels would allow toward my car. Stop, Jamie. And he goes, what, too much for you to handle? She goes, I hate you. I spat, spinning in place and charging back toward him a few steps. Go back inside. And then they like continue to argue. I am like, why am I kicking my feet reading this? I'm messy. I don't care. I love a messy book. And I think I love it because like, my relationship is so far from that. So like, reading about people who are like screaming, crying, kissing in the rain type books, it's like, oh yeah, I'm tapped in. I'm loving this book. I'm loving it. Again, it is a little irritating, and there isn't a ton of dialogue. Like, there is, but there isn't. Like, there will be, let me read this like end part. It goes, if I had known back then about the angel's tax, I would have laughed. They say every year a batch of whiskey goes without being bottled. Each year it's aged, 4% of alcohol evaporates, and that's the angel's share. It really was funny then that I'd neglected to bottle Jamie up for myself, and maybe could have laughed if I'd known that story back then, but then again, maybe not, because the truth was, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all. And you get a lot of that. It's like, tears found me before I even realized they were threatening to fall. I swiped at them harshly, my hands shaking before a scream ripped through my throat. I hated him. I loved him. I hated myself for loving him. I hated myself for letting him go, for letting him find someone else. I was furious, but the truth was, nearly everything he said about me was true. I was the one who didn't want us to be official. I was the one always leaving. I was selfish. I was so effing selfish. Like, there are like lots of parts like this in this book where I'm kind of like, all right, I need to get back to y'all communicating or not communicating, because they literally cannot talk to each other for the life of me. So I will say there's a lot of like inner monologue like that, where like you'll get a whole page and it's like, you know, just her thoughts and like her working through things. So that, I do wish there was a little bit more dialogue, but it is something that is not letting me put it, like, I cannot put this book down. I'm on chapter 16, page 257. I've already read like 100 pages since the last time I like picked up the camera. So yeah, I definitely want to read a little bit more later, but I'm enjoying it. And again, let me know like what you guys' version of a spoiler is, because I love sharing like my thoughts. Like I love reading a book and being like, oh my God, this is like making me so angry, or I'm loving this part. But I never really like to like read sections or really talk about anything that's happening in the book, because I'm like, I don't want to spoil it. But to me, a spoiler is something that is like going to change the trajectory of like the story. So like hypothetically, if, you know, I were to tell you that a character were to die, or if I were to say like, I don't know, something that like makes you just kind of know how the story ends, that to me is a spoiler. But like the little stuff in between, like the arguments, or like if I were to be like, oh yeah, they went on a trip to the Bahamas, like, which they don't, but like if I were to say that, that to me is not a spoiler to me. Like that, to me, a spoiler is something that like spoils the ending, which again, we all know how happily ever afters usually end anyway. It's like romance is 9 times out of 10 gonna end with like a happy story. So I always have a hard time when someone's like, oh, this is a spoiler. Now, I do think if you were to share something that's like a surprise in a book, like, you know how sometimes there'll be a book where there'll be a car crash and then like someone will go from, you know, being like fine to like having to be in a coma or something like that. To me, that's a spoiler. It's like the crux of the story. But anything else, I'm like, I don't know. And maybe because I read romance, it's like I kind of just assume that we're all in the same playing field. Like you can't really spoil it that badly. Like you really can't, unless you like are telling like a really pivotal moment in a story. Like if there's a love triangle in a book and you're like, oh yeah, she ends up with so-and-so. It's like, well, duh, like that is a spoiler, because yes, we know she ends up with someone, we just don't know who she ends up with. But I think in my head, I just always feel like spoilers are the same. But then I've had, not a lot of people, but like literally like 2 people be like, hey, stop spoiling books. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like I barely talk about the book. Like usually I'll start the book and I'll be like, this is how I think I'm gonna feel as I read it. You know, I think I'm gonna rate it this. I've heard great things about it. I read the book. I don't usually share clips of me like this, where I'm like actively reading sections from the book or talking about it. And then usually I'm like, this is how I feel afterward. And like, that's kind of where, or like what I'm learning from a book. Like I'll share a lot of that, like, you know, this is how I related to it kind of thing. But I don't know, I would love to share more of like my, like just visceral reactions like this, but it's hard to do that if I can't be like, hey, they're screaming, crying, pissing each other off, or, you know, this is the trope that's in this book, like it's a fake dating, or it's a, you know, whatever. So I will say I do dislike if someone like shares that a book has a pregnancy trope in it if it's not like explicitly on the back, just because like, I don't know, I feel like unless you like know that the book you're going into, like the whole story revolves around that, and again, usually it's like told on the back, but sometimes there'll be books that literally there's like a complete surprise. Like the whole book doesn't even have them being pregnant, and then it's like, whoa, surprise! Like there's a pregnancy. I don't like when people spoil that part, because it's like, again, kind of back to what I was saying. It's like it's a surprise. It's something that's unexpected, and similar to how I was saying, like, you know, if someone gets into a car crash in a book and they're in a coma or whatever. Like I don't need to know that, because that's what is really keeping the story like interesting, because usually when there's big secrets or surprises, the story kind of like pulls you along this like tiny string, this tiny thread is keeping you being invested, being like, what's gonna happen? So yeah, I don't know, comment below what your version of a spoiler is, because I know everyone's version is like different, but I never want to like spoil a book. But I also would love to share more of my like my reactions as I'm reading a book, but I just almost feel like I can't do that, because it's like, oh my God, guys, this is how I'm feeling reading this book, and it's like, well, you're like, well, why are you thinking that? Like, why are you excited? Why are you sad? And it's like, well, actually, I can't tell you. I can't tell you because, again, I feel like everyone's version of a spoiler is different. So, loving it so far. I'm at 256, 257, and I'm definitely finishing this today, like, no questions asked. I need your help. I was getting ready to put away the books that I picked up the other day, which, y'all, I'm so, like, I'm shook. Like, why did I even buy this? I might end up reading it. Like, I've been trying to, like, read different types of books, and I'm not someone who just reads, like, heavy spice, no plot, but, I mean, who knows? Whatever. I might like it. But I was putting away these books, and I have these two books. I've had them here for a minute because I cannot decide which ones I want. So, these right here are the, they're both the same books, but they're just like different covers. These are by Deanna Gray. This is Sunny Disposition's first book. This is the second book, Team Players. Now, I feel like I was in this phase where I was kind of like over cartoon like character books. And then now I feel like I'm just like fine with it. Like I don't even care. And maybe it's because there's so many books that are like coming out with like these cartoony covers. Like I'm over it. Like I don't mind them, but they're like, they wouldn't be my first choice, but like, they're not bad. You know what I mean? So anyway, I bought these a while back, but when I was in my like mini phase, it was literally lasted like a few weeks where I was like, I'm just over cartoon character books. I don't want to read them anymore, which again, I don't really feel that way anymore. But during that time, I was like, I want to pick up this series, but I don't want the cartoon covers. So I bought this copy and they're just like different. It's like a special edition like cover. I also feel like I rate books higher when they don't have cartoon covers. I don't know why. There's something in my brain that's like, this can't be 5 stars, which is not like accurate at all, but like that's how I feel. Okay, so I bought these and I was like, I'm going to read these and it's gonna be great. But then I saw that Deanna Gray just released the cover of her new book and it looks like these. So like if I buy that new book, which I probably will after I finish these, because I want to at least read these first, like just because I do love Deanna Gray's writing. I've read Outdrawn by her. But if I end up reading these, I want to make sure that I have a book that matches the series. So should I keep these or should I keep these? Or should I keep both? Like these are so pretty. Like I love how these like look. That's the cover of that one. Cover of this one, it's a hockey romance. And then this is the other cover. I don't know. I feel like I like these covers better. Like personally, they're just like prettier to me. Like I just like them better. I also feel like I'm more likely to rate this like higher stars because of the cover. And I know I shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I do. I can't help it, okay? There's just something in me that like when I see this, I think cutesy, I think fluffy, I think fun. I don't think like heartbreaking. I don't think it's something that's gonna like change my world or change my trajectory of my life. It's not gonna like shatter me. Like, I'm not gonna be like forever changed by a book with this cover. That's how I feel. Not saying that that's the case. And so I got these because I was like, I don't want to like go into these books just like automatically being like, oh, it's probably gonna be like 3.5 stars, you know? But then there are some books with like cartoon covers that I've read that I've rated a little bit higher, but it's very rare, like very, very rare. Like when I read this book, when I read this book right here, I'm expecting to go into these just having like a good time. Just, it's gonna be fluffy, it's gonna be fun. I'm not really expecting anything else. So someone let me know what you think. Should I keep the like new special edition covers or should I keep the cartoon covers, which will be what she continues the series with and like will match the new book? I have not decided yet because honestly both of them are so pretty, but I need a little bit of help on this one. So please let me know what you guys think. I took a break from the other book because they were literally irritating me and I decided to pick up this one. I am in love with this book. I was kind of worried that the story would go a little too quick because it talks so heavily about her grief, and I just was like, oh, well, I don't know if the author's gonna do that justice. You know, it's like how do you in 400 pages show someone's grieving and then show them kind of falling in love? Like, I wasn't sure how they would do that, but she's doing an incredible job. Like, I just got done finishing this part. I'm on chapter 37. I just got done finishing a part where they have their first real, like, little physical encounter. And she is, you know, she has not been with anyone since, like, her husband. And I gotta read this part to you guys. Like, oh my God. So she is telling him, she's like, I haven't been with anyone in a while, and he's like, I'm going to, you know, make you feel great. And she goes, wait, like, he's like, oh, well, what happened? Like, what did I do wrong? And then she goes, I gotta find it. She goes, wait, where is it? Hold on, I gotta find it. She goes, I haven't done any upkeep, like, down there in a while. And then she's like, 3 whole weeks to be exact. She's like, I used to get a bikini wax. She didn't say this to him, but she's like thinking in her head. I used to get a bikini wax every month. Back when, like, you know, she was like married and stuff. And she's like, well, who am I shaving for? Like, what's the point? No one was gonna see what was down there, whether it was bare or whether it was a full bush. And so she said, but now someone was gonna see. And he goes, what are you talking about? And she's like, I haven't shaved or like waxed in a while. She's like, I've just been really, really busy with work. And I mean, I've been keeping to myself really, so there's no need to. And he's like, wait. He's like, do you really think I care about that, D? like, that is a man. That is a man. He goes, let me put it this way. He said, you know what? I'm not gonna read it. Okay, I'm gonna read it. He's like, pretty much, he's like, I've wanted you from the minute that I saw you, and it doesn't matter what form you come in. Like, I am going to want to be with you. So, not reading it verbatim, so you can, like, get the full experience when you read it. But I love this book, and the whole book, you see her kind of going back and forth, where she's like, I think I'm ready. And then she's like, actually, I'm not ready. And then she's like, oh, I think I'm ready. And the whole book, you see her go back and forth. And it is so realistic to how I feel someone would be if they were, like, working through this. It's so good. The end of the day, so of course I have a little wrap up for you guys of the books that I finished, but I also have a little book haul. So I'm gonna open the book haul first because I've been talking about this forever and it's taken me so long to finally open it. So I figured I would do this before I get into my wrap up and my ratings. So I told you guys that one of these books was one I already bought. So I have 2 books, and I bought this book twice. About People of Means. I did not know that I bought this book twice. I genuinely had no idea. I bought this from a Black-owned bookstore, which I shared with you guys at the beginning of this video. And I also will link the books from Call and Response Bookstore, which is in Chicago. I'll link them below if you guys want to buy this book, or if you want to buy what else? What other books? Beautiful Broken Love, The Reformatory. I know that the bookstore has all 3 of those. So if you want to buy those and want to support a Black-owned bookstore, the books are delivered so fast. So definitely do that. But this one, I did not realize I bought it twice. So I think I'll probably put this into a little free library, or maybe give it to my sister. My oldest sister really loves to read, and she just finished One Summer in Savannah. This is the sister who is the mom of my niece that I've, like, hung out with, and, like, we've talked about books and stuff, the one who loves, like, spicy books. Her mom also likes to read, which is my sister, so I might give this to her. So yeah, I got that. Another book that I got that I haven't shown you guys, because I already showed you guys People of Means, because apparently I bought it twice, is The Intimate Beginnings of Taylor, and this is by Lavender Quinn. I've never read anything by this author. This is such a beautiful cover. I love when a book has a beautiful cover. It says, "Her rival's girlfriend, the most important lesson of her acting career. Love is a fantasy, and fantasies are made to break you. When Taylor pauses her acting dreams to explore a life as a single, bisexual college student, she never expects trouble to follow, but old rivals never die, and Taylor learns it's not always the jealous co-star you have to worry about. Sometimes it's her girlfriend. Gabriella, the girlfriend of Taylor's arch nemesis, is a master at sabotaging the prospects of young actors, especially those deemed a threat to her girlfriend's career. With Taylor's most intimate secrets at Gabriella's disposal, Taylor battles two enemies simultaneously while living out her darkest fantasies anonymously to maintain her pristine reputation. With the stage now abandoned for the war they rage behind the velvet curtain, Taylor and Gabriella race against time to secure their freedoms at the risk of exposing the one secret that may destroy both of them." So really excited for this. I've never read anything by this author. Honestly, the cover is what drew me in, so I wanted to pick it up. I also love stories that are by Black authors that I've never read from before, that aren't like super big or like popular. So like, I want to read this book definitely soon. So yeah, let me give you guys my little book wrap up of what I finished. So before I get into this wrap up, I have to say today has been so nice. Like, just the weather has been great. But man, I think one thing that's really hard, probably the hardest thing about this job, is like, you could be having the absolute best day, loving life, like the sky is blue, you're reading your favorite book, and then you get like a message or a DM or something that is just like so mean, and it really like cuts your legs off, you know? And I think that's one thing I've had to come to grips with, is that that will always be a part of like sharing here. It just is a part of it, unfortunately. And I think that's why a lot of creators will like pull back. Like, you'll see when creators like get larger, they go from being like super like open and vulnerable and like sharing every second of their life to, you know, barely posting, or, you know, only posting fragments or segments of their heart, or, you know, just pieces of who they are. And I always want to continue to be open and vulnerable and share with you guys in a very deep way. Like, I never want to like read a book and be like, all right, that's it. Like, it was great. I want to share like what's on my mind and how I'm learning and growing through that. And I try to share like that on Instagram and TikTok too. But man, it is definitely one of those things that I have to really shrug off. And I think it's different, like, than if you were to have a coworker say something mean to you, because the things that people say online are so hyper specific to the things that like are very deep in your heart. Like, my coworkers might not know like the hard things that I've went through this year. You know what I mean? They might know like small things about me, like, oh, like, you know, if I was like working in an office space, they might be like, oh, she's like not a great worker. It's like, okay, like, and, you know, like they might like make up something that's not true. But when people come for you online, especially people who like watch your stuff, it is always something so like, so it's like right on the nose. It's like you're really hitting a point that is like a pressure point that like I just struggle to even share. And then when I share it, and I share because I want people to feel seen and validated, a little less alone, to feel like you have a best friend here. But man, when I hit on that pressure point, it's like, dang, like should I just not share anymore, or not be open, not be vulnerable? But I have to remind myself that the story that I have to share, I know is going to impact someone. And I want to encourage you, really, all of this came from me thinking about how often we can keep ourselves from being vulnerable, whether that's in our friendships or our other relationships that we have, because we're fearful of how we're perceived or how someone will react to what we tell them. And I want to encourage you that like you can't get close to people without sharing parts of yourself. Like, you just literally can't, whether that's online or whether that's in person. And it can be scary, but I feel like it's worth it if you end up like getting even a smidge closer to that person, or like that person feels a little bit more validated in their experiences that are similar maybe to yours that they went through. So that's what I remind myself of. I'm like, I know there's someone out there who maybe has lost their dad, or who is missing their parent or missing their dog, or someone who struggles with people pleasing and is working through that, or someone who's had a hard 20s and they're now in their 30s and they're like thriving and loving life. Like, I know that there's someone who needs to hear my story. And maybe it's just to hear my story to recognize that like things do get better. Like, maybe you had a hard 20s and you're like, okay, I'm in my 20s now and my 20s suck, but like you're thriving in your 30s, and like I feel like that's possible one day. Like, I just think about when I was in high school and when I was in middle school and when I was in college, and how I was just so like, please tell me it gets better than this. Like, it just was not fun. And I feel like by me opening up and being vulnerable and sharing, just in whatever capacity that is, whether it's about silly little books or my, you know, emotions or feelings or whatever, I just hope that it's touching someone and making them feel a little less alone. And I feel like you should also do the same, because that's how you're going to grow and connect with people, by opening up and being vulnerable. So, long story short, I love you guys, but yeah, let's get into these books. So I kind of read all these books together just because I am like that. Like, I'm a huge mood reader. So the first book I started was Beautiful Broken Love, and it was actually the last book I finished. So I will talk about that one last. And then this was the second book I started, and this was the third book I started. And this one was actually the first book that I finished. Y'all, this book is so good, so freaking good. I was on the edge of my seat. I know it was a horror, but like it felt so thrilling, especially like the last half. I had to look up online to see how many children were killed while at the school for boys, and it said like over 100. And that to me is just so sad, because it's like, we don't know their stories. A lot of them have unmarked graves. So I'm really excited to read the Nickel Boys to like get even more into this story. I do wish it had a little bit less of like ghost talk and a little bit more like of the, I don't know, of the story outside of that. Like, and I get it was a horror, but I think in my head I assumed the horror that they were gonna be like talking about the most was what they were going through, which was a large part of the story. Like, honestly, I was like, I don't need any more of that either. But it was very heavy on like the ghosts that were there, the lives that were taken, and how they like kind of haunted the school. So that to me, I wasn't really expecting. But surprisingly, I enjoyed it, even though I'm not someone who really cares for like ghost stories or anything like that. Like, it's just not like my cup of tea. I really enjoyed this book. So I think I'm gonna rate this one 4 stars. I feel like this one would be great for anyone to read. Even though it was very thick, I finished it really fast, and it's also one of those books that has a story that more people need to read about. I do think that if the ghost part of it had been like a little less, it could have been like a 5-star read. I feel like for me, like when I think about historical fiction and what I am wanting out of it, it's more on the like realistic side. And again, I knew that this was a horror, so I think I maybe it was my own thought process, but going into it as a horror, I was like, oh, it's gonna be the horrors of the Jim Crow South, not like the horrors of like ghosts and stuff like that. So yeah, love this book. I would recommend this to anyone, especially anyone who's wanting to learn about what happened at that school. And the whole book will just have your heart just bleeding. Like, you'll feel like it's being ripped out. And then I read Love Letter to Whiskey, which might be the most irritating book that I read this entire year. This book was just, the whole time I'm like, you guys are arguing with each other and you're irritated with each other, but you're also continuing to like hook up with each other and have relationships with other people. I'm just like, stop getting in relationships with other people. Like, it just, and I get like the reason why they're like, oh, we can't be together, because, you know, they were like, it's wrong place, wrong time. And I get that, like, it's very realistic, but it just was like, come on. So I do think that this video has made me realize how many books that are like 5-star predictions on my shelf that I still have, and I genuinely just need to pick them up, because I felt like this one was gonna be very highly rated, and it freaking was. I think that I'm gonna sit this one at 4.5 stars because I still cannot stop thinking about both of them. It just was one of those books that I was just like, oh my God. And the ending, like the ending, I think I'm gonna land it at 4.5. Like it was such a really good story. So I think it's gonna be one of those that I will recommend and I won't stop thinking about. I think I'm gonna rate it 4.5 stars. I need to sit on it because how irritating they were. Like, they will absolutely irritate you. I can't decide if I like that irritating feeling or if I hate it, or both. But like, again, the ending I think definitely sent me over the edge in a good way. Not in a good way, because it was like just the ending. But I do think that this is a book I won't be able to stop thinking about. But my ratings are never like set in stone until I put them in Goodreads. So I might sleep on this and it might go to a 4. I don't know. I need to think about it because they're irritating to me. But it was entertaining. You know, I couldn't stop thinking about them. And when I put the book down, I was like, okay, I want to pick it back up because I want to know like what happens to them. And those are the type of books that I always rate very highly. So yeah, really love this one. And then I also read Beautiful Broken Love. This freaking 5 stars. My first 5-star of the year, guys. Like, my first 5-star of the year. I cannot explain how badly I already want to read this book again. And it's not even that long. Like, I feel like whenever I look at 5-star reads, I feel like they have to be like super, super long, like the Magnolia Parks universe, or they have to be like a series for me to get super invested in them. But this book wasn't even, this book was literally 362 pages, which to me, in my head, is like, granted, I think it's like the perfect length for a book, but in my head, I'm like, am I going to be able to relate to a one-off story? Like, and rate it 5 stars. Whereas like with the Skyland series, you know, Before I Let Go by Katie Ryan and like This Could Be Us, that's a series, you know it continues on. I do kind of think that this might be something that continues on in the future. I just get that vibe. I almost feel like Javier and the sister are gonna have a book and it's gonna be like a nanny dad trope. That's just my 2 cents. But I looked online and it didn't say that there was like a book 2 in the works or anything. So I don't know. Oh yeah. Oh wait, no, hold on. Oh no, it doesn't. I was gonna say in the back it says, hope you enjoyed Deke and Venus' story for Steamy bonus epilogue. Like, go to this section. But I thought maybe it was like, oh, I hope you love this story. Like, if you want Javier's story, then like, you know, whatever. But it doesn't. I don't ever really read the acknowledgements. Excuse me, guys. I know the yawn police is gonna be like, stop yawning. If you're new here, like, there's like this lore. Like, I feel like I have all these like random bits of lore, but yawning is something that so many people don't like that I do. And it's like, I'm human. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do when I yawn, like, other than yawn. Like, I can't keep it in. I know some people are like, oh, cut it out. But I'm like, this is like real life. Like, I want you guys to feel like we're on literal FaceTime together. And it's like, I'm a human. I yawn. So anyway, we're going to keep that in. But freaking 5 stars. I had so many like things underlined, so many quotes, and maybe I'll include those on my Goodreads review, just so you guys can see like what I underlined. But I think the way that the author describes grief in this book is very relatable. The main character doesn't just lose her husband, she's also lost someone else in this story. So she's went through a lot of grief and you can tell she's trying to come back from it, but like she's walking around just like Eeyore, like a cloud over her head, like sad all the time, and like people pick up on it. And she's really putting all of her energy into her work, which again, I think is very relatable because it's hard to feel things because you know when you feel the things, you're gonna feel sad. Like, you're gonna feel worse, like when you already feel bad. So like, you want to try to like do anything to cover up those emotions. And when she really starts to feel in this book, when she has her first real cry, like, it's just, I don't know, that part was just very beautiful. And the way that Deke loves her, the way he loves her is so beautiful because he's waiting for her to be ready for him and he's not pushing her to feel like she needs to be anyone other than she is in the moment that she's in. He's not rushing her. And he doesn't really know how to navigate what she's went through, but he has also went through his own grief, and he's very closed off, but he still is someone who's like trying to break down her walls. I love this. This is such a beautiful book, a book for the ages, a book I will recommend to so many people because it's so easy to read. I will say it's definitely like a slow burn vibe. Like they don't kiss or like really do anything until like page 190, like or around the 200 mark or something like that. So that for me is my favorite because you really solidify what she's going through. You also solidify their friendship. They have lots of like emails together, and it's just, it's very, very, very sweet. Like, and it's spicy too, but like it's not, it doesn't overtake the story. Like the first time if they even do anything, it's like, it just kind of like happens, and she's kind of like, holy cow, like did this really just happen? And like he's like, oh, I took it too fast for her, like she's not ready, like he's thinking of her. I just love this book so much. And you guys know I don't rate books 5 stars. I usually rate like, I'll rate a book, you know, I think last year I had like 5 5-star reads, maybe, like max. Like I'm not someone who rates books 5 stars a lot. But this book, I think because I went through my own personal grief, that is something that I really resonated with and what she was going through. But also her trying to work through her emotions and having feelings for someone, even though I haven't lost a spouse, and maybe if you haven't lost anyone, I think if you've ever loved anyone, you will be able to recognize how hard it would be to move on, period. Not even like into another relationship, but like move on in general. And you can tell she's someone who never thought that she would find anyone else. So it's just like, you have the push and pull because she's talking about her husband in this book like she's still in love with him. Like she's like talking about him and comparing him to Deke, and like it is just, it feels so realistic. So I really loved it. I hope you guys do too. And what's funny is I've read a book by this author, wasn't obsessed with it. It had a lot more spice, which I think was part of it, because I'm not like a huge, like heavy spice, zero plot girl. But this book, I feel like has the perfect amount of spice. It's done so well. It's written so well. Like the way that the characters talk to each other feels very realistic. It's funny. It's heavy on like her work-life, family balance. I loved it. It was very well-rounded, great romance, 5 freaking stars. So these are all the books that I read this week. These are some heavy, thick books, and I'm honestly surprised that I got through all of them because they were so long. But if you guys enjoyed this video, comment below, let me know a book that you guys have rated 5 stars, or maybe your last 5-star read. It could be last year, it doesn't really matter. And then we can get a bunch of 5-star recommendations in the comments below. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next video will probably be my wrap up, giving you guys all my thoughts for the entire month. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday in the next one. Bye guys.